if he gonna guarantee, man, whose glasses are those? Damn, what you having surgery?
Hey, Greg, leave me alone, man.
Blue light glasses? What are those?
What's up, Chuck?
I'm good, man. Hey, Greg, I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit on the Kareem thing because you can't name me the guys Kareem got traded for.
Brian Winters.
That's not the same.
No, but you're right. You're right. It's not.
But I think the most shocking thing about this trade is a couple things. Number one, you never trade stars for stars. I'm trying to remember, I've been in the NBA for 40 years. Normally when you trade a star, you get a bunch of junk back. This is the first time I can remember where you got two all NBA players traded for each other. I mean, obviously, I don't remember every trade, but I'm trying to think. You guys got a great staff there behind the scenes. I don't remember the last time we traded probably never when you traded an all NBA player for an all NBA player. So that's probably, and the second thing is, normally when stars get traded, you hear a lot of rumblings and you just put them up for the highest bidder. So I think those are the two first aspects of this trade that are shocking. Star for star, and normally they didn't go for the highest bidder. They went for a quick deal and it was over.
Would you have taken a different approach there? Would you have gone to other teams to at least see what's out there? And then if Anthony Davis is the best deal, the best player you can get, that package was the best, you go with it. But at least go see what's out there.
Well, in fairness, they got a hell of a player. Anthony Davis is an all NBA player. That kind of goes back to what I said earlier. If they take another deal, they might get a bunch of draft picks and a couple role players. They got an all NBA player back. So unless you get Joker, Giannis, I'm trying to think, all NBA players.
Embiid be the only other guy, but you're not taking Embiid.
What?
No, you're not taking Embiid with his injury history. So they got a really good deal. Now, listen, the Mavs obviously had to make a decision this summer whether to give him 5 years, $350 million. That's a lot of money to give a guy you don't think can stay in shape who's always going to be hurt. And let me tell you something. The only people know Luka Doncic is the Dallas Mavericks. Guys who've been with him for years or who are around him every day. He's a great player. He's a great player. But all us talking heads, they know something. They must know something we don't know. Because, listen, he's been hurt. Everybody complains about his conditioning. But once you give a guy 5 years, $350 million, y'all are stuck together for life. So this is going to be a great trade to see what happens the next X amount of years. I think the Mavericks are win. Because, listen, I don't know who the second best team in the West is. The Oklahoma City Thunder are terrific. But I actually think, in my opinion, the Mavs are in that conversation as the second best team there right now. And the Lakers got what they wanted. They got a superstar going forward. I do think this kind of sets the end to the LeBron James making all the decisions. They're like, hey, we love you, LeBron, but we're going to start what's doing best for the Lakers. That's what I got out of this trade from a Lakers standpoint. Because I don't know if they didn't come tell LeBron, because number one, Clutch Sports is Anthony's agent. But it seems like to me, they're like, hey, you know what? LeBron's on his last legs. Let's start getting us a star for the future. And it's going to be fun to talk about this trade, sit back and watch who wins the trade. I think both teams have to win a championship to say they won the trade. Both teams have to win. The only way you can win this trade if you win the championship. I saw Nico say they probably got a 3 to 5 year window because Kyrie's great, Anthony's great, and they got a really good team down there. The only downside with Luka being 25, they probably got a 10-year window. But whoever wins the championship is going to be the winner of this trade, plain and simple.
Chuck, you hit it on the head, and that's what you're saying is kind of where I am. Like, I think it's a really good trade for both teams for different reasons. Because I think in Dallas's case, Dallas is win now mode, and you heard Nico talk about he fits their timeline. Him and Kyrie are in essence the same age. They got a really good roster, and the one issue Anthony Davis has always had is, I want to play my natural position, the 4. Well, they got a two-headed monster at the center position with Lively and Gafford. I feel like, to your point, I feel like they are, if they stay healthy, that they are built to be that team in the Western Conference. OKC has been amazing, but they match up. They're going to be hard for people to score on because they don't just have great bigs. They got great bigs that can play at all 3 levels. When you talk about a young, lively Anthony Davis, as great as he is defensively, he's also really good offensively. He's a guy that can get you 30 a night in a matchup nightmare. And for the Lakers with Luka, they've now got a new face of the franchise. That guy is box office. And I think I guarantee you, and Chuck, you can speak to this, it probably humbled him a little bit to be traded like that because he thought he had the keys to that franchise, which he did. But there were definitely rumblings that they weren't thrilled with his approach to the professionalism of taking care of his body and investing in himself in a way where they felt comfortable. Because you know this, Chuck, they didn't have a problem paying him the money. If Luka hadn't shown them that maybe he wasn't as committed to his body, I don't think we'd ever be in this situation. But for that is why this deal ultimately happens.
Well,
Valentine's Day is filled with the unexpected. So sorry about this. How are you holding up?
Not good, Mark. Love Hurts. Rated R.
Luka has to do a better job with his body, Greg. Let's get that out the way. Listen, everybody's talking about it, so clearly he's got to do a better job of taking care of his body. But hey, listen, they had to make a decision. Do we give this guy $350 million and we stuck with him for the rest of his career? Number one, it probably was a shock. Wait a minute. It's still a shock to his system. it ain't when my phone started going crazy last night, I actually thought somebody like this.
You thought it was DoorDash? You thought it was DoorDash?
No. Well played. No, you know what? I thought it. You know how these fake things come out when somebody died. These internet idiots. When they said somebody died and they did that, like, this can't be true. Because I was actually watching the Lakers-Knicks, and I get this thing on my phone. I'm like, well, this is somebody playing a joke. Then I go to ESPN. They got college basketball on, and nothing's happened. Then I go to ESPN2, see my girl Shea Cornett, and I'm like, they're not even talking about it. And I'm flicking back and forth. I had 10 people texting me like, dude, I don't know anything. I'm just sitting here watching just like everybody else. Then I go back to Shea Cornett, and she said, we have breaking news. And I'm like, damn, it was a shock. I mean, I'm telling you, I've been in here for 40 years, Greg. I've never been more shocked because there was no grumblings. I mean, everybody's been talking about Jimmy Butler and De'Aaron Fox for the last few days. And then you get 2 all-NBA players. That's the thing. Like, I was a great player, and it was all over the internet. So I'm so old, I didn't have internet. It was all over the newspapers for 2 years. Nobody ever thought that Anthony Davis, and especially Luka Doncic, especially the way AD's been playing, he's been all NBA. And Luka, he's been the face of that franchise from day one. Man, I don't think I've ever been more shocked. But hey, listen, I'm going to say this for the last time. Nobody knows Luka Doncic better than the Dallas Mavericks. And let me tell you something else, Greg. This thing is not going to be smooth in LA with him and LeBron, because both of them want the ball 100% of the time. I think that's going to be I don't know if because Luka does not move without the ball. LeBron does not move without the ball. There's going to be some serious growing pains when those two try to play together. Now they're both great players. Don't get me wrong, but LeBron wants the ball and Luka definitely wants the ball. So it's going to be very interesting how that work out. And when Anthony Davis is healthy, it's going to be a seamless transition to Dallas, plain and simple. Because, he complains all the time about the five. I don't even understand why he complains about the five. Unless you're playing against Joker or Embiid, do we have any more big guys in the league?
It's a good question. I think you're spot on with that. I will say the other aspect of it, though, if you're the Lakers, and if LeBron's a part of the near future, they can't win enough possessions with that roster. And to me, that's what it's going to come down to. Like, Luka and LeBron could get 30 each, but they can't compete
Greg,
on the backboard.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
Greg. And they both can give up 30.
Yeah. Exactly. And they ain't got no backline help. They don't have, well, I will say, they got Finney-Smith and Vanderbilt. That does help, but they still are going to struggle to control that backboard. That's where, as that roster is now. So I also, don't you get a sense, Chuck, that they're going to probably, the Lakers, have to do something else if they're trying to win now?
Well, they gave away their best player. They don't have anybody else to give away.
Wait a minute. Are those shades? Are your glasses turning color?
Man, leave my glasses alone. Hey, listen, kids at home, don't let people make fun of you. If they call you 4 eyes, don't worry about it. The most important thing is to be able to see. So I can see, Greg. I can see. Hey, Greg, me and you, I think I'm a little older than you, but you've been around. Have you ever been more shocked?
No.
At me either.
No. And I think that's and this is where you got to give Nico and the Mavericks a lot of credit, because nobody saw this coming. Nobody. There is no scenario where anybody can honestly tell you they thought that this was a possibility. And I think that's why they were able to pull it off. And it's probably why, and you made a great point earlier, they weren't trying to rebuild. Normally when you trade that superstar, the team that's trading them, they're rebuilding. Yeah. They said, no, we wanted Davis because he fits our timeline. We feel like we can win now. And I think a lot of it is because, as great as OKC is, they haven't proven it in the postseason yet. And it gives those other teams more confidence when you get to the postseason, because they're going to be so reliant on young players. I think SGA is the MVP this year. I mean, we still got a little ways to go, but he's going to get my vote if this continues. And they've got a lot of great young talent, but you know this, Chuck, when you get in the postseason, coaching matters a lot and your ability to make adjustments. And one thing that Dallas has now with AD on that front line, they can play any style, offensively and defensively. Like, that's the thing that sometimes gets lost. People are discounting how great a player Anthony Davis is. That's all I've been hearing is, the Lakers, they got fleeced. I'm like, are y'all smoking crack? I mean, Anthony Davis is one of the 3 best bigs in the league, and I would say, based on what we've seen from Embiid, he's one of the 2 best. And he's a guy that you can run your offense through as well.
TaxAct doesn't care which tax filing software you've used in the past. Let's get them over with.
Well, and I listen, let me tell you something. And a pissed off Anthony Davis is probably even more dangerous than he is right now, because you talked earlier about Luka being shocked. AD's in shock too. He's probably playing the best he's ever played, and to get that call in the middle of the night or late night that you've been traded, like he had, like I say, man, I think both guys got to be in shock, to be honest with you. I mean, but Luka is obviously in serious shock, but AD's got to be shocked also. But Greg, I agree with you, man. OKC, they're my favorite to win this thing. But man, the Dallas Mavericks, they might have just became the second best team in the Western Conference because the jury is still out. I think Denver needs to make a trade because they need to get some bench help. The Rockets are so young. I'm not going to take the Rockets beating the Mavs in a 7-game series. The Memphis Grizzlies, I like their team, but man, Dallas, this is going to be a very fun thing to watch. Now what gets interesting is the De'Aaron Fox and the Jimmy Butler thing, because everything got ramped up. This is going to be a fun next 3 days, buddy.
Yeah.
I cannot, because now you're like, if you're my Phoenix Suns, I'm trying to think who else is something.
Minnesota.
You got the Minnesota. You got the Brandon Ingram situation down in New Orleans. You're like, somebody got to do something because the Mavs jumped to the front of the line. So now I think it's going to be crazy the next 3 days because Thursday's the deadline, obviously. But if you're like, wow, the Mavs went from mediocre to really good in one night. What can the Suns do? What can Minnesota do? What can the Lakers do? The Lakers got to do something else, in my opinion.
Chuck, before we let you go, I got to ask you this. You know, after you got traded to the Suns, like you're talking about, you won the MVP the next year, right? You talk about Anthony Davis being pissed off. Forecasting Luka Doncic over the next maybe season and a half, are we going to see the best potential version that we've ever seen of Luka Doncic? Because he's got to be pissed, like you said, too.
Well, first of all, he should be pissed because they called him fat. They would call him fat and lazy.
Why you get
Same
mad
thing.
when people tell you the truth, though? They do say the truth hurts. I take that back.
You know, I told this story. I wasn't getting to play my first year in the NBA, and Moses Malone pulled me aside. He told me I was fat and lazy. And I cried, Greg. I ain't gonna even lie. I cried, but I was fat and lazy. And Moses took me under his wing, and I lost 50 pounds and became a Hall of Fame basketball player. Nobody has been capable of telling Luka that he needs to get in better shape. We've talked about this ain't like something new. We've been talking about it for 2 or 3 years. He needs to get in better shape. And the Mavs made a decision. We're not going to give you $350 million because if you're not in shape now, you ain't going to be in shape when you get older. So they made that decision. They know him better than we do. It's easy. He's a great player. I think we all agree.
Yeah.
But Nabil, he has to get in better shape. But it's going to be very interesting because I don't know if him and LeBron can play together. They're so ball dominant. They're both so ball dominant. LeBron is probably the best power forward guard combination ever at handling the ball. And Luka has to have the ball. I don't think Luka's ever ran a play where he didn't have the ball. So it's going to be smooth sailing for Anthony Davis when he gets healthy because he's that great. But, man, it's going to be a big adjustment for Luka and LeBron playing together. So I think it's going to be a long-term play for the Lakers, a long-term play.